In today's fast-paced world, filled with endless pressures and unexpected challenges, have you ever wondered what truly keeps the human heart steady and peaceful? When the closest relationships fracture, when painful words have been spoken, and when wounds seep deep into the corners of the soul, what power can heal those hurts? The answer lies not far away, but within compassion and unconditional love. Subtle, yet incredibly powerful qualities that can transform our lives in the most miraculous ways. Imagine a moment when you can look at the one who hurt you not with anger, but with understanding and forgiveness. Imagine that instead of holding onto grudges and pain, you offer sincere forgiveness, not to forget, but to free yourself from the chains of the past. In that very moment, you will feel a miraculous power. The power of compassion healing not only the relationships around you, but also your very own heart. Compassion is not merely an abstract concept found in sacred texts. It is a light that illuminates the darkest corners of each person's life. It is the invisible thread linking all sentient beings, reminding us that every individual carries their own story, their own pain, and a yearning to be loved and understood. In today's video, we will explore deeply moving stories about compassion and unconditional love, stories in which you may see yourself reflected or find profound empathy. Each story not only proves the healing power of compassion, but also opens the door for us to learn how to apply its spirit in our daily lives. We will analyze profound lessons based on Buddhist philosophy, where compassion lies at the heart of the path to enlightenment, while also blending in modern psychological research that helps us to understand the mechanisms and positive effects of unconditional love on the brain and the soul. You will hear about people who have endured profound suffering, loss, or deep emotional wounds. Yet through opening their hearts with compassion, they discovered a miraculous inner transformation, healing relationships once thought irreparably broken. These stories do more than move our emotions. They ignite hope that no matter the circumstances, each of us can begin anew, cultivate and nurture genuine love, and from that, change the world around us in the most wonderful ways. We will clearly see that unconditional love is not weakness, nor is it accepting all pain to endure suffering. It is a vast strength that helps us transcend our own limitations, to live a life full of true meaning, peace, and happiness. Compassion is a journey that is not easy, but when you choose to embark on it, you will realize that every step brings freedom, serenity, and a surprising healing energy. Join me on this journey as we deeply explore the essence of compassion, hear truly inspiring stories, and learn how to bring these values into every moment of our lives. Because in a world that seems to spin endlessly, compassion and love are the most steadfast anchors to help us weather the storms, mend wounds, and open a future filled with light and hope. Are you ready to hear stories that could change the way you see life and humanity? Let's step into this emotional and insightful journey together and discover that compassion is not merely a choice. It is the greatest gift each of us can give to ourselves and those around us. The healing power of compassion and love, a journey to mend relationships. Part 1. The healing power of compassion and love, a journey to mend relationships. In life, we often think that true strength lies in grand gestures, heroic actions, or powerful words. Yet, real strength actually springs from the simplest things, from a heart filled with genuine compassion and love. Compassion is not just a fleeting emotion. It is the source that helps us heal wounds, mend broken relationships, and soothe the deepest emotional pain. In the opening of The Healing Power of Compassion and Love, a journey to mend relationships, we will meet ordinary people through heartfelt real-life stories where compassion sparked a powerful journey of transformation. They are not famous heroes, but people just like you and me, those who chose to forgive, empathize, and love unconditionally, gradually removing invisible barriers and bringing peace to themselves and those around them. Each story is living proof that compassion heals not only others, but also ourselves. And perhaps, as you listen, you will find within your own heart a small flame, a flame of hope and the endless capacity to love. 1.1 Story. A mother forgives her son who caused deep hurt, the compassionate journey beyond family darkness. Karen is a single mother living in Seattle, USA. She has a son named Michael, now an adult, who went through a turbulent period in his life. Michael made serious mistakes. He fell in with the wrong crowd, descended into addiction, and even caused deep emotional wounds to his mother with harsh words and actions. Years of arguments, harsh words, and estrangement stretched nearly a decade, making it almost impossible for Karen and Michael to face each other. Heartbroken and disappointed, Karen once believed that maternal love was the one thing that could never be lost. But she realized that even that love was tested to its limits when wounds were left unhealed and prolonged. Yet deep inside, Karen held onto a small flame, the flame of compassion, a power she had read about in Buddhist texts and experienced through gentle meditation practices. One day, when Michael decided to return home after rehab, Karen faced the hardest choice of her life: to hold on to resentment or to open her arms in forgiveness. Choosing to forgive was not only a liberation for her son, but also a pivotal turning point for Karen herself, allowing her to shed the burden of suffering, overcome the pain, and begin rebuilding a family relationship that seemed lost. Karen's journey is a vivid testament to the power of compassion in real life. In Buddhist philosophy, compassion, kuru, is not just pity. It is an open heart willing to forgive and let go of hatred. A mother's compassion for her child is the highest symbol of unconditional love, regardless of mistakes or a dark past. The Buddha taught that forgiveness is one of the ways to free oneself from suffering and anger. When Karen chose forgiveness. In Karen and Michael's case, the process of forgiveness did not happen overnight. It was a difficult journey requiring patience, courage, and deep self-reflection. But every step she took was a step toward the rebirth of their relationship and healing of both their souls. Their moments of sitting together, sharing their deepest feelings. Their story reminds us that no matter how broken a relationship may be, no matter how deep the wounds, compassion and forgiveness will always be the keys that open the door to healing. It not only heals broken relationships, but also helps us become more whole, gentler, and more vibrant in life. Through Karen and Michael's story, the neighbor's small act of kindness that changed a life, when compassion breaks all boundaries. Ethan is a software engineer living in San Francisco, a bustling city of skyscrapers and fast-paced life. Although his life was stable and successful, Ethan often felt something was missing in his soul. One day on his way home, he saw a homeless man sitting curled up on the sidewalk. The man's name was Tom, around 50 years old, wearing tattered clothes with tired eyes that seemed to have given up hope. Unlike the indifference of many passers-by, Ethan stopped and handed Tom a sandwich and a bottle of water. This small act opened a chain of meaningful events. Ethan didn't stop there. He began spending time talking and listening to Tom's story, a former electronics technician who had lost his job and fallen into homelessness due to life's hardships. Ethan decided to help Tom access social support services and create opportunities for him to regain hope and rebuild his life. This story clearly shows that compassion is not only reserved for loved ones, but is an extension of love toward all sentient beings, one of the core values in Buddhism. The Buddha taught that compassion, maitri and kuru, is a vast love encompassing all beings, regardless of their status or identity. True compassion arises from understanding that every living being seeks happiness and wants to avoid suffering. When we open our hearts to embrace and help others, we spread peace and happiness throughout the larger world. Modern psychological research confirms that even small compassionate actions can bring great benefits to both giver and receiver. Acts of kindness increase happiness by stimulating hormones such as oxytocin, known as the bonding hormone, and the love hormone. When Ethan helped Tom, his brain released oxytocin. Compassionate acts help build and strengthen social relationships. A supportive and connected community is the foundation for sustainable development and long-term happiness. By actively helping a complete stranger, Ethan expanded his social circle, creating a more positive and humane network of relationships. Ethan and Tom's journey also shows that compassion does not require grand gestures or extravagant acts. Even small, simple deeds like a meal or a sincere inquiry can transform a person's life. This is the hidden power of compassion, regardless of size, as long as it comes from a genuine loving heart. Ethan's actions are a practical expression of great compassion, extending beyond personal limits to connect with all beings. This is the path leading us to true enlightenment and peace. An office worker breaks the cycle of stress through loving-kindness meditation, the secret to emotional mastery and building workplace connections. Emma is a young marketing specialist working at a multinational company in New York. Her job constantly demands meeting tight deadlines, interacting with multiple departments, and handling pressure from clients and supervisors. Over time, the more strained her workplace relationships grew, leading to decreased work performance and morale. One day, during a personal development workshop, Emma was introduced to loving-kindness meditation, metta bhavana, a meditation technique focused on cultivating compassion, love, and empathy for oneself and others. Initially, in traditional Buddhist practice, loving-kindness meditation is a spiritual technique that nurtures unconditional love, starting by sending wishes for happiness to oneself, then extending those feelings toward family, friends, co-workers, and eventually all sentient beings. Through this meditation process, Emma learned to observe her emotions without becoming overwhelmed, creating a peaceful space to choose positive responses rather than reactive negativity. Modern psychology confirms that loving-kindness meditation enhances emotional awareness and regulation. Empathy enabled Emma to better understand and relate to the difficulties and pressures her colleagues faced, reducing conflicts and fostering a more harmonious workplace. After consistent practice, Emma's story vividly illustrates the power of loving-kindness meditation to break the cycle of workplace stress, an environment often rife with pressure and conflict. Compassion is not only a positive mental state, but also a practical tool for emotional regulation and building healthy social bonds, thereby enhancing life and work quality. Buddhism emphasizes that loving-kindness meditation benefits not only the individual, but also positively influences the wider community. When each person practices compassion, they contribute to building a society characterized by understanding, tolerance, and harmony, especially important in today's multicultural, competitive workplaces. Moreover, modern psychological studies show that those who practice loving-kindness meditation are less prone to depression and anxiety and have better resilience after stressful events. The journey of loving-kindness meditation transformed her life and rekindled her passion for work and colleague relationships. From someone frequently stressed, she became a source of positive energy, inspiring her entire team to grow together. This story delivers a powerful message. Even in difficult and high-pressure situations, we can find inner peace and strength through practicing compassion. In doing so, we not only heal ourselves, but also help create a better living and working environment for everyone. Part 2. Compassion in Buddhism, Classic Stories and Their Applications. Before diving into the classic stories of compassion in Buddhism, let us reflect on the immense power that compassion can bring into human life. Compassion is not only a noble virtue revered by enlightened beings, but also a profound tool for inner transformation, helping individuals overcome the darkness of anger, hatred, and ignorance. In each ancient story, compassion shines as a guiding light, not only saving lost souls, but also rebuilding trust and sparking the beginning of change. Most of the classic stories about compassion carry not only spiritual value, but also inspire modern psychological research on forgiveness, healing, and personality development. By deeply understanding the meaning and application of compassion through diverse characters and situations, we will begin our journey exploring famous stories such as the story of Angulimala, a notorious murderer who was saved and radically transformed by the compassion of the Buddha. This story will be thoroughly analyzed from the traditional Buddhist perspective as well as modern psychological angles, helping listeners better grasp the transformative power of compassion and profound forgiveness. 2.1 The story of Angulimala, from murderer to saint through the Buddha's compassion. Angulimala, whose birth name was Ahimsaka, was once a clever and talented young man living in a small village in ancient India. However, influenced by misguided teachers and harsh circumstances, he gradually became a notorious murderer. Angulimala was obsessed with a terrifying curse. He had to collect a finger from each person he killed to complete this curse. As a result, he roamed everywhere, spreading terror among villagers and travelers alike. Angulimala's life seemed destined for a dark tragedy, but the appearance of the Buddha opened an unexpected turning point. When the Buddha confronted Angulimala, instead of fear or anger, he showed profound compassion, no judgment, no rejection, despite knowing the young man's dark past. The Buddha called Angulimala back and invited him to abandon the path of crime, to open his heart to forgiveness and transformation. Forgiveness was not mere words, but was proven through a sincere, righteous life. After being enlightened by the Buddha, Angulimala abandoned all violent acts, became a respected monk, lived peacefully, and used compassion to help others. This story vividly demonstrates that compassion has the power to save, radically change personality and life. From the Buddhist viewpoint, compassion is an invisible weapon to break the vicious cycle of suffering and karma. In the scriptures, the Buddha teaches that when a person truly feels love, they gain a strong motivation to change, develop goodness, and liberate themselves from negative karma. Angulimala is a perfect example of this teaching. A person once lost in darkness who found light thanks to unconditional compassion. Modern psychological analysis also shows that forgiveness and compassion help fundamentally change a person's character and behavior. When someone experiences genuine forgiveness, their brain activates areas related to peace, happiness, and better emotional control. Forgiveness reduces negative reactions like anger and resentment while enhancing positive emotions such as empathy and love. In Angulimala's case, the Buddha's compassion helped him regain trust in himself and society. This transformation not only benefited him personally, but also positively affected the surrounding community, as a changed individual spreads positive energy and contributes to a more peaceful society. The story of Angulimala is not only a lesson on the power of compassion, but also evidence of the deep healing that forgiveness brings. It reminds us that no matter how grave a person's mistakes, there is always a chance to return to the right path if they encounter and feel genuine compassion. Finally, Angulimala's journey from murderer to saint reveals an important truth. Forgiveness is not weakness, but an expression of infinite inner strength. When we forgive, we free not only others from suffering, but also ourselves from the chains of anger and hatred. Through this story, listeners are invited to reflect on themselves. Do we have the courage to forgive and open our hearts to those who have hurt us? And do we realize that such forgiveness opens the door to freedom for ourselves? 2. The story of Sujata, a kind act that changed the Buddha's life, when compassion opens the path to enlightenment. Sujata, a young woman living in a small village near Bodh Gaya in ancient India, symbolizes simple but powerful compassion. Siddhartha had become exhausted, emaciated, and close to collapse. It was a moment when all his efforts seemed in vain, and the path to liberation remained unclear. At this seemingly hopeless moment, Sujata appeared like a light in the darkness, bringing Siddhartha a bowl of sweet milk. A simple gift, but one with tremendous power. This act not only saved Siddhartha's life, but also marked a decisive turning point in his journey toward truth. From that point on, Siddhartha realized that extreme asceticism was not the only way to liberation. Balance between body and mind was essential. Sujata's kindness is a beautiful expression of unconditional love, a core quality in Buddhist teachings. By opening her heart and sharing a life-saving gift with a stranger in his time of need, she sowed the seed of compassion, nurturing life and sparking hope not only for Siddhartha, but for all humanity to come. In Buddhism, compassion, kuru, is one of the four immeasurables, four boundless mental states. Loving kindness, metta, compassion, kuru, sympathetic joy, mudita, and equanimity, upekkha. Compassion is not merely pity but a deep motivation to act to relieve others' suffering. Sujata's act clearly reflects this spirit, showing that compassion can be expressed through simple, sincere gestures in everyday life. From a deeper Buddhist perspective, Sujata's kindness helped him realize that caring for the body is just as important as spiritual practice. From the viewpoint of modern psychology, Sujata's kind act reflects an important principle of mental health. Social connection and kindness promote both psychological and physical well-being. Studies show that when people express compassion and receive empathy in return, serotonin levels increase in the brain, improving mood, reducing stress, and enhancing resilience. Moreover, even small acts of giving increase the giver's sense of meaning and purpose in life. In Sujata's case, helping Siddhartha in his moment of weakness not only saved a life, but also ignited a flame of hope and spiritual energy for a great journey of awakening. Sujata's story is also a profound reminder of the importance of small acts of kindness in everyday life. It doesn't always take grand gestures to create impact. Sometimes a small, sincere act can change someone's life. This kindness forms the foundation for building good relationships, nurturing trust, and developing a positive society. Additionally, the story carries a deep message about balance in personal and spiritual development. In today's modern life, with its pressures and challenges, many people swing between extremes, either too harsh on themselves until exhaustion or too lax, losing motivation. The lesson from Sujata and the Buddha is to love and care for oneself in order to gain the strength and mindfulness needed for spiritual awakening. In modern society, where people often get caught in the whirlpool of work pressure and stress, Sujata's story calls us back to the simplest but most essential values: kindness, care, and sincere love. These small actions help each of us gain strength to overcome difficulties and contribute to building a peaceful, happy world. More than a symbolic historical story, Sujata is a model for us to learn and practice compassion in daily life. When everyone opens their hearts and gives love, we build a loving, connected, and sustainable community together. The meeting between Sujata and Siddhartha was not only a moment that changed one person's life, but also proof of the power of compassion and kindness in creating the path to enlightenment for all humanity. It reminds us that in each person's life journey, no act is too small if it comes from a sincere heart. 2. Hopeless and unsure how to escape this psychological spiral. By chance, Anna discovered metta meditation, loving-kindness meditation, an ancient Buddhist practice focused on developing unconditional love for oneself and others. At first, metta bhavana, the cultivation of loving-kindness, is one of the most vital practices for liberation from suffering and affliction. It helps practitioners develop an open, tolerant heart and continuously radiate loving energy to all beings, including oneself. Compassion is not merely an emotion, but a deep awareness of interconnectedness that dissolves isolation and insecurity. From the viewpoint of modern psychology, when natural love arose, Anna felt no longer trapped in despair, but began stepping into the light, living a fuller and more meaningful life. Anna's story demonstrates the extraordinary healing power of loving-kindness meditation in the modern world, where people are easily caught in life's pressures and stresses. Meditation not only balances emotions, but also expands the capacity to love and empathize with oneself and others, foundations of all healthy relationships. Her journey is a reminder that no matter how difficult life is, we can always start by nurturing a compassionate heart, forgiving and loving ourselves. We see that compassion is not an abstract or distant concept, but an essential life skill that can be cultivated through meditation practice. Yet one full of fulfillment and depth, opening the door to healing and spiritual growth. Part 3. Compassion healing in personal relationships. In modern life, personal relationships have become increasingly complex and vulnerable due to work pressures, differences in perspectives, and prolonged misunderstandings. Compassion, with its miraculous healing power, is not only a noble virtue in Buddhist philosophy, but also an essential tool to resolve rifts, soothe wounds in each individual's heart. In this section, we will explore profound stories about the revival of seemingly lost relationships, nurtured again through compassion and sincere forgiveness. Compassion is not merely an emotion, but also an action, an act of opening one's heart, listening, and forgiving. It breaks the vicious cycle of anger, suffering, and distrust, creating space for relationships to be rebuilt on the foundation of understanding and mutual respect. The stories in this section will help us realize that no matter how deep the wounds are, Compassion and forgiveness are always the keys that open the door to healing. We cannot change the past, but we can choose to face and transform the future with sincere love. Alongside these stories, these methods not only soothe conflicts, but also build a solid foundation for long-lasting bonds. When compassion and psychological science merge, we hold the power to turn difficulties into opportunities for growth and flourishing love. Let us begin this journey with the story of Mr. John, a father who overcame many years of resentment and separation to reconnect with his son, a vivid testament to the miraculous power of compassion in healing personal relationships. 3.1 Mr. John and his son, a journey from resentment to family reconciliation. Mr. John, a middle-aged man living in Chicago, USA, had endured many years of estrangement from his only son, Michael. Their relationship was deeply fractured by misunderstandings and prolonged conflicts, leading to coldness and silence for many years. Mr. John carried sadness and regret in his heart, but did not know where to begin healing. Michael, after mistakes and failures in life, also felt deep hurt and built a wall of separation from his father. He realized forgiveness was not only a gift for others, but also a way to free himself from the burden of negative emotions. In Buddhist philosophy, forgiveness is seen as an act of compassion that liberates the mind from anger and suffering, opening the door to healing and rebirth of relationships. From a modern psychological perspective, reconciliation techniques such as nonviolent communication, active listening, and empathy were applied in their first meeting after years apart. These techniques reduced defensiveness and created conditions for both to better understand each other's feelings and needs, thereby rebuilding trust and connection. Friendship and unconditional love are vivid expressions of compassion. The Buddha taught that true love does not demand perfection or conditions, but acceptance and forgiveness, even when the other person may cause us pain. Compassion is not reserved for the perfect, but is extended to imperfect human beings who are on a journey of learning and growth. Compassion allows us to see the true essence within each person. Forgiveness is recognized as a crucial factor in reducing stress, improving mental health, and fostering healthy relationships. When Sarah decided to forgive, she not only liberated herself from the burden of hurt, but also created an opportunity to renew and strengthen her relationship with Emily. Studies show that forgiveness enhances empathy and reduces negative emotions such as anger and resentment, thereby improving relationship quality. Sarah's journey of forgiveness was not easy. She experienced a complex range of emotions, from pain and doubt to an internal struggle between holding on to hurt or opening her heart to forgive. Yet each step she took was progress toward emotional freedom, healing the wounds within and finding inner peace. Forgiveness also enabled Emily to acknowledge her mistake and take active steps toward change, deserving of the friendship they once shared. Their story is a powerful testament to the extraordinary strength of compassion and forgiveness in healing the deepest emotional wounds. It emphasizes that genuine friendship is built not on perfection but on acceptance, forgiveness, and unconditional love. In life, everyone makes mistakes, and it is compassion that helps us overcome those hurts and create stronger, more meaningful connections. Compassion and forgiveness are not just virtues but an art of living, an art of opening the heart, letting go, and giving love without limits. When we learn to forgive others, we also heal ourselves. Sarah and Emily's story brings a hopeful message. Forgiveness and compassion can rebuild relationships that seemed shattered, bringing healing and new life to both sides. Bravely face our hurts and open our hearts to forgive, not only others, but also ourselves. When compassion becomes the guiding principle in life, it not only saves relationships, but elevates the value of life itself, helping us become more complete, understanding, and loving human beings. 3. Keeping the flame of love through compassionate communication. A couple story of awakening the power of love through listening and respect. Sophia and David are a couple living in Vancouver, Canada, who have been together for over 8 years, experiencing many ups and downs in their shared life. In the beginning, like many couples, they faced disagreements, arguments, and misunderstandings that threatened their relationship. Distances grew as each felt misunderstood and unheard, especially during disputes. No longer seeing conflicts as battles, but as opportunities to understand each other better. From a Buddhist perspective, communication is an art, not just the transfer of information, but an expression of compassion and respect. The Buddha taught that when we speak to others, we must keep a pure and sincere heart, avoiding harm or hurt to the listener. Compassionate communication is the act of giving love through words, listening with understanding and patience, helping to build harmonious and lasting relationships. In practice, Sophia and David applied active listening, a psychological technique that helped them not only hear but feel each other's emotions and needs. When David shared his work pressures causing stress, Sophia did not rush to rebut or judge, but took the time to listen fully, empathize, and understand. Conversely, Sophia felt shared when David patiently received her difficulties and worries. Expressing emotions was also an important element in their compassionate communication that they continually practiced. Instead of bottling up frustrations, they learned to articulate their feelings clearly, gently, and without hurting each other. Emotional transparency helped them avoid unnecessary misunderstandings and strengthen their bond. From a psychological science viewpoint, positive communication and empathy are key factors for sustaining romantic relationships. When couples listen and show genuine care, they create a safe space for each person to be themselves and be unconditionally accepted. This reduces conflicts and enhances satisfaction and happiness within the relationship. Sophia and David's journey is not only a story about preserved love, but also a vivid demonstration of the power of compassionate communication in turning difficulties into opportunities for growth. They built a solid foundation for their relationship, allowing their love to grow stronger and deeper over time. Compassionate communication not only heals small wounds in daily life, but also creates a deep, soulful connection, helping them overcome every challenge and together move toward a future filled with love and understanding. Their story reminds us that to maintain lasting love, we need not only intense feelings, but also delicate care in how we communicate with each other. When compassion inhabits every conversation and moment, love will not only survive, but flourish brilliantly. Part 4. Compassion and love beyond social and cultural differences. In today's world, social and cultural diversity is an undeniable reality. These differences, while adding rich colors to life, often create invisible barriers that make people feel distant and difficult to connect with one another. However, compassion and love always have the power to rise above all those limits, becoming a bridge that unites souls regardless of culture or social context. Compassion is not only a profound spiritual value in Buddhism, but also a practical tool that helps people overcome prejudices and differences to build harmonious, loving, and understanding communities. This Part 4 will guide viewers through real stories that demonstrate the miraculous power of compassion and love when facing social and cultural differences. Through these stories, we will see that compassion knows no borders and does not discriminate but spreads to all beings, while also exploring modern psychological aspects that strengthen and develop relationships in today's diverse society. 4. 1. Layla, the refugee woman embraced and supported by the community. Compassion without borders. The journey of rebirth to a new life. Layla is a young woman from Syria, a country that has endured years of devastating war and profound loss. Her story began in a small town where she was born and raised with her family, leaving her engulfed in despair and profound loneliness. With no other choice, Layla was forced to leave her homeland and start a new life in a foreign country, Germany. There, she faced countless challenges, a language barrier, cultural differences, and a deep sense of isolation in an unfamiliar society. The early days in the small German city were filled with isolation and shame, fearing she might never fit in or regain hope. However, a miracle began through the kindness and compassion of those around her. A neighbor named Anna, a middle-aged woman full of goodwill, reached out to help Layla learn German through informal, friendly lessons at her home. Anna also introduced Layla to local refugee support groups where she received information, vocational training, and help finding suitable employment. These small acts of kindness gradually became a warm light, soothing Layla's heart and dispelling the coldness of fear and loneliness. In Buddhist philosophy, the Buddha taught that compassion is a deep understanding and sharing of another's pain, coupled with a willingness to act to relieve that suffering. True compassion knows no boundaries of class, race, or nationality. It is a guiding light for all beings in pain. Receiving such unconditional support helped Layla recover mentally and sparked her confidence and independence in the new life. Research shows that empathy and social support are crucial in mental recovery, especially for those who have experienced trauma like Layla. When people feel understood and supported, they gave me not only opportunities, but also faith in life. Her words testify to the miraculous healing power of compassion, an unconditional love that transcends all barriers and hardships. Viewers are not only inspired, but invited to reflect on themselves, realizing that each of us can be a light of compassion, spreading love, healing, and connecting souls on humanity's shared journey. 4.2 Volunteer Teaching Immigrants: How Small Acts of Love Create Big Changes. In a bustling European city where the number of immigrants is steadily growing, the story of a young volunteer named Emily has become a symbol of the power of compassion and how small acts can transform entire communities. Emily, a 28-year-old woman from England, decided to dedicate her time every week to teaching English for free to newly arrived immigrants from countries like Syria, Afghanistan, Eritrea, and many others. At first, only a few people joined her simple classes held in a small meeting room at a local community center. However, from those warm English lessons, many lives began to change. Emily didn't just teach vocabulary or grammar, she taught with her whole heart. She understood that for immigrants, language barriers were not just academic challenges, but walls separating them from integration, whether in finding jobs, accessing healthcare, or building social relationships. So in every class, Emily encouraged students to share their life stories, struggles, and hopes. The classroom atmosphere became friendly and like a second home where no one felt lonely or abandoned. A miracle happened as the learners gradually regained confidence in speaking English. They started applying for jobs, participating in community activities, and even forming support groups for each other. Emily's class became not only a place to acquire knowledge, but also the starting point of a strong social support network. Immigrants who once felt like strangers rejected by society became welcomed and valued members. From a Buddhist perspective, this small but meaningful action embodies compassion, the key that opens the door to transformation. Compassion is not merely pity, but an active effort to reduce others' suffering. Through teaching language, Emily practices compassion in action, a simple deed that carries the power to connect and deeply heal. Buddhist teachings emphasize that compassionate help breaks the cycle of suffering and isolation, expanding love without borders. Psychologically, acts of love like those Emily performs have a powerful effect in reducing isolation and boosting immigrants' social confidence. When people feel understood and empathized with, they experience positive connection with their surroundings, which reduces stress, anxiety, and feelings of exclusion. The sense of belonging and acceptance is a fundamental psychological need, and when fulfilled, individuals develop stronger mentally and socially. Emily's English classes serve as an effective therapy, helping students overcome shame and opening opportunities to assert themselves in a new environment. Emily also faced challenges. At first, she encountered learners' hesitation, lack of confidence, cultural differences, and sometimes resistance from locals unwilling to accept diversity easily. However, with persistence and patience, she gradually built trust not only among students, but also within the wider community. Her story vividly demonstrates that a small act of genuine love can spark widespread change. Moreover, Emily's story offers a profound lesson on the value of small actions in life. Major changes do not always require grand gestures or huge financial investment. Sometimes a gentle care, patient gesture. Emily's story reminds us that compassion is not only for others, but also a continuous practice that nourishes our own souls. When we open our hearts to help others, we ourselves are healed and renewed. The sense of connection and living meaningfully is the most precious reward compassion brings. Emily's journey is proof of this miraculous power, the power of love to overcome all barriers and create great change from the simplest acts. 4.3 Multicultural Classroom. In religions, this classroom is not just a place to exchange knowledge, but also a space of deep understanding, respect, and compassion. A 35-year-old multilingual teacher originally from Mexico who has lived many years in Canada. Maria's goal is not only to teach, but also to create a small community where everyone can feel safe, respected, and have the opportunity to share their own stories. Her classroom gathers immigrants from Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and Europe, each carrying their own stories, challenges of integration, and hopes for the future. Every class, Maria spends time not only teaching but also organizing interactive activities that help students understand each other's cultures through games, group discussions, and storytelling. She constantly emphasizes the value of compassion, a key concept in Buddhism, not only as empathy, but as respect for all sentient beings, regardless of their skin color, language, or beliefs. From a psychological perspective, practicing compassion in this classroom helps students develop empathy and emotional recognition skills. This enhances social integration and reduces expressions of stress and conflict. When people feel understood and respected, they become more confident in communication and more courageous in building new relationships. These skills are especially important for immigrants who often face unfamiliarity, isolation, and even discrimination. A special feature of this class is its diversity in languages, religions, and customs. Students include Muslims from Syria, Christians from the Philippines, Hindus from India, and many non-religious individuals, all sharing a desire to live harmoniously and thrive. Maria skillfully designs a curriculum that teaches not only language, but also how to respect and cherish differences. She organizes small ceremonies according to each group's traditions, giving everyone a chance to experience and better understand each other. Over time, the class has become a place where strong bonds form, from sincere friendships to support groups helping one another in daily life. Stories of forgiveness, sharing, and helping are continually recounted. Attitudes toward women, ways of expressing emotions, even body language sometimes lead to misunderstandings or minor conflicts. However, Maria and the students always discuss, listen, and practice compassion to overcome these difficulties. Their perseverance and mutual respect have helped the class grow stronger and more developed. Furthermore, the harmony created in the classroom has a positive impact on the surrounding community. Students not only apply the values learned in their personal lives, but also actively participate in social, charitable, and educational activities. They become cultural ambassadors, bridges helping the local community understand and appreciate diversity. This is a vivid proof of the Buddhist teachings on compassion and harmony among sentient beings. The story of this multicultural classroom also sends a powerful message for the modern world. When people open their hearts, appreciate, and respect differences, they not only heal wounds caused by discord, but also build a solid foundation for sustainable social development. Compassion, when practiced sincerely and practically, is the key to breaking down all barriers and creating harmonious and friendly relationships. Finally, the journey of building a harmonious environment through a multicultural classroom demonstrates the great power of compassion in everyday life. It not only helps individuals overcome difficulties, but also creates widespread impact, contributing to building a better world. It is in moments of sharing, understanding, and respect that we truly realize the meaning of love and living harmoniously with all sentient beings. Part 5. Self-compassion, healing the wounds of the soul. In the busy and challenging journey of life, we not only need to extend compassion to others, but also must learn to love ourselves. Self-compassion, the kindness and forgiveness we offer to ourselves, is the key to healing the deepest wounds in our soul, helping us rebuild inner strength and find true peace. In Buddhism, self-compassion is seen as an essential foundation to overcome anger, shame, and inner suffering, thereby stepping onto the path of growth and awakening. The stories in this section bring us closer to the courageous journeys of those who have faced the darkness within and, through self-compassion, found a new light for their lives. It is a profound reminder that to love others fully, we must first begin with loving and forgiving ourselves. 5.1 When Anna Faces the Darkness. Her journey overcoming childhood depression through self-compassion. Anna is a young woman from the United States with Irish roots, born and raised in a family marked by many hardships. Her childhood was shadowed by long days filled with tension, conflicts, and a profound sense of loneliness. From a young age, she faced deep sadness due to lack of care and even emotional harm from her closest relatives. Those painful memories gradually followed her into adolescence, leading to severe depression. We must not only extend compassion to others, but also practice kindness toward ourselves, letting go of anger and shame to free ourselves from inner suffering. Self-compassion not only helped reduce her anxiety and stress, but also created a safe space within where she could accept her wounds and mistakes, moving forward with renewed courage. Moreover, self-compassion helped Anna develop resilient inner strength to face life's challenges. She began seeing difficulties not as hopeless obstacles, but as valuable lessons for growth. As her self-love increased, she regained confidence, improved social relationships, and found joy in simple daily moments. Anna's journey is a vivid testament to the Buddha's teaching on the importance of self-compassion for healing and personal growth. Through her story, we see that no matter how painful the past is, everyone has the capacity to heal through compassion and forgiveness toward themselves. Self-compassion is not permission to be controlled by the past, but a way to liberate ourselves and live a more complete and peaceful life. In today's world, where pressure from work, family, and society grows ever greater, practicing self-compassion is increasingly essential. It is not only a personal healing method, but also the foundation for building a healthy society where each individual knows how to love and respect themselves before extending kindness to others. Anna's story reminds us that starting from within, step by gentle step, self-compassion can transform the deepest wounds into sources of strength and guiding light. 5. 2. Self-forgiveness. The journey of a former addict rediscovering himself. In a coastal city in Australia, Michael's story, a man who was once deeply addicted to drugs for many years, is a vivid testament to the power of self-forgiveness and mindfulness in the healing process. Michael was not extraordinary nor born with advantages, but through perseverance, self-compassion, and the ability to let go of past mistakes, he found a new, brighter, and more meaningful life. Michael's youth was marked by chaos, where drugs and addictive substances gradually took over his entire life. Born into a middle-class family in Melbourne, he once had opportunities for education and career development like many of his peers. However, emotional shocks, societal pressures, and unhealthy relationships pushed Michael onto the path of addiction. From there, he spiraled into guilt, regret, and self-condemnation. The darkest period came when Michael lost his job and became estranged from family and friends. He felt completely isolated, drowning in guilt and despair. Each day was a string of mistakes, and he no longer believed he could escape this vicious cycle. The pain and hopelessness even made him contemplate giving up on life altogether. However, a turning point came when Michael encountered a local rehabilitation center for drug addicts. There, he was introduced to mindfulness practices and the art of self-forgiveness, methods deeply inspired by Buddhism and other spiritual traditions. Michael began to learn how to observe his emotions and thoughts without judgment, gradually allowing himself to forgive past mistakes. Forgiveness, for Michael, was neither easy nor quick. It was a long and challenging process, during which he had to face the truth about the pain he had caused himself and those around him. It became a precious step toward rebuilding his self-worth. From a psychological perspective, self-forgiveness is seen as an essential first step toward recovery and change. When a person stops judging and destroying themselves, they open the door to healing and growth. Michael clearly experienced this transformation as his feelings of guilt and self-blame turned into compassion and inner strength. Self-forgiveness does not mean forgetting or overlooking mistakes, but rather true acceptance and a commitment to rebuild life on a firmer foundation. Michael's journey also demonstrates the power of mindfulness in helping him maintain awareness in every moment. Instead of running away from or suppressing unpleasant emotions, he learned to face and understand himself better. Moreover, Michael received strong support from the community and social rehabilitation programs, where he could share his story without fear of judgment. The empathy and compassion of those around him gave him powerful motivation to stay steadfast on his healing path. This connection not only eased his sense of isolation, but also expanded his capacity to love and forgive himself. Today, Michael not only maintains a clean and stable life, but also actively participates in supporting other recovering addicts. He has become a living example, inspiring others with the power of self-forgiveness and mindfulness. Through his story, Michael sends a message that no matter how serious one's mistakes are, and growing, it requires courage to face the darkest parts of oneself while giving oneself love and respect. When one achieves this, not only does healing occur, we can all start anew from within, through self-forgiveness and mindfulness. 5. 3. Compassion for oneself. The journey of a single mother forgiving herself and rebuilding her life. Sarah is a 38-year-old single mother living in Seattle, USA. Her story is not only a journey of overcoming personal difficulties, but also a profound testament to the power of self-compassion, the foundation for building a sustainable, happy, and peaceful life. Sarah went through many challenging years filled with guilt, self-blame, and deep loneliness, but through perseverance in practicing mindfulness and self-love, she rediscovered herself and recreated her life with a gentle and hopeful heart. Sarah's life was far from easy when she decided to become a single mother after ending a painful relationship. In the early years, she had to care for her young child while facing financial pressure and harsh social judgment. She often felt inadequate, blaming herself for past mistakes and decisions she considered wrong. These thoughts led her into prolonged anxiety, stress, and depression. At that time, Sarah felt lost in her own life, unsure how to escape the whirlpool of suffering and self-reproach. Each day was a struggle between weakness and the desire to find happiness again. She often felt disconnected from herself and the world around her, making even close relationships difficult. However, a turning point came when Sarah began exploring mindfulness meditation and self-compassion practices. Through meditation sessions and learning, she gradually realized that to love her children and others, she first had to love and forgive herself. Compassion is not superficial self-soothing, but a deep recognition of one's own limits and wounds, paired with patience and gentleness toward oneself on the healing journey. Sarah started dedicating daily time to mindfulness meditation, learning to observe negative thoughts without being swept away by them. She focused on her breath and repeated compassionate phrases such as, "I forgive myself," "I deserve happiness," and "I can be peaceful." With each moment of meditation, she felt small but crucial changes in her heart. Anxious feelings gradually softened, and anger toward herself was replaced by understanding and kindness. During this process, this acceptance opened the door to powerful inner transformation, helping her rebuild trust in herself and regain control over her life. From a psychological perspective, practicing mindfulness combined with self-love is an effective method to reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression. Scientific studies show that mindfulness meditation reduces activation in brain areas responsible for stress responses while enhancing emotional self-regulation and creating inner peace. For Sarah, these benefits were not just theory but lived experience, helping her maintain mental health and build a more stable life. Beyond mental health care, Sarah gradually changed how she viewed herself in social and family relationships. She learned to listen to herself more, set healthy boundaries, and no longer feared judgment or being hurt. Self-compassion made her more patient and gentle in raising her child, creating a loving and safe environment for the child's growth. Sarah's journey was not without challenges and hardships. There were moments of discouragement and temptation to give up when negative emotions surged strongly. However, regular practice and support from meditation communities helped her persist. She shared that understanding and compassion toward herself was the strength that helped her overcome her darkest times. Today, Sarah not only lives a more peaceful life, but also inspires many around her. She actively participates in support groups for single mothers and people struggling with mental health, spreading the message about the importance of self-compassion and mindfulness in healing and personal development. Sarah's story proves that when one knows how to love and forgive oneself, anyone can recreate their life and live more fully. Ultimately, Sarah's journey reminds us that self-compassion is not only an act for others, but also the most precious gift we can give ourselves. It is the foundation for lasting happiness, helping reduce anxiety and depression while expanding our capacity to love in life. When we care for and love ourselves, we gain the strength to love and share with the world around us more sincerely and deeply. Part 6. Practicing compassion in daily life. In the fast-paced and stressful modern world, maintaining compassion is not just an abstract ideal, but an essential skill that helps people preserve inner peace and deepen their connection with themselves and others. Practicing compassion daily does not require grand gestures. It starts with small acts and moments of loving awareness in everyday life. When we open our hearts with empathy and forgiveness, we not only ease others' pain, but also soothe our own souls, building a lasting state of peace. This section shares genuine and relatable stories illustrating the power of loving-kindness meditation and compassionate practices in daily life. From the first steps of a young man to how a volunteer group spreads kindness in the community. Through these stories, we understand that compassion is not something distant, but a life skill that can be cultivated, developed, and brings practical benefits to individuals and society. 6.1 Beginning with loving-kindness meditation, a young man's journey to life transformation. Ethan is a 25-year-old living in Vancouver, Canada, a city known for its multiculturalism and beautiful nature. Although he has a fairly stable life as a freelance graphic designer, Ethan faced many pressures and stresses in work and social relationships. In his early adulthood, he often felt tired, anxious, and sometimes lost direction in life. Ethan's turning point began when a close friend introduced him to metta meditation, also called loving-kindness meditation, a simple but highly effective method rooted in Buddhist tradition. Metta practice cultivates compassion in the heart through phrases and visualizations directed at oneself, loved ones, and even those with whom one has difficulties or conflicts. Ethan started practicing loving-kindness meditation daily, just a few minutes each morning and evening. At first, focusing was not easy as his mind was frequently distracted by worries, troubles, and negative thoughts. But he persisted, concentrating on his breath and repeating phrases like, "May I be safe, may I be happy," then gradually opening his heart with, "May all beings be well." Slowly, Ethan felt changes within himself. Work-related stress no longer caused insomnia or emotional turmoil as before. He began letting go of self-criticism and criticism of others, replaced by a gentle, forgiving feeling. Loving-kindness meditation enhanced his empathy, making his relationships more harmonious with family and friends. From a psychological perspective, metta meditation is scientifically proven to reduce stress and anxiety and improve mental health. Ethan clearly experienced growing inner peace with each meditation session, building a solid foundation to face life's challenges. Ethan's loving-kindness meditation journey also inspired those around him. He often shared his experience in meditation groups and communities, helping many realize that compassion's power is not only for others, but also a precious gift to oneself. Loving-kindness meditation not only soothes personal pain, but spreads peace and love to everyone. Through Ethan's story, opening new opportunities for healing and growth. 6.2 Compassionate communication, the secret to how an office worker reduced conflicts and increased productivity. Emma, a 29-year-old office worker at a tech company in Berlin, Germany, once experienced stressful and conflict-filled days at work. At first, she felt meetings were often tense as opinions went unheard, and disputes made the workplace atmosphere suffocating. The pressure of work and prolonged stress caused Emma to lose motivation and even affected her job performance and mental health. A turning point in Emma's career came when she attended training on compassionate communication, a skill widely applied in modern organizations to create harmonious and efficient work environments. Emma also learned to express her viewpoints clearly without hurting others, and encouraged everyone to seek solutions collaboratively rather than argue to win. The results were quickly evident. Meetings became more constructive as everyone felt respected and heard. understanding, and empathy reduced unnecessary conflicts, creating a more positive and friendly work atmosphere. Emma noticed improved cooperation among departments, smoother workflow, and increased motivation for everyone to contribute their best. From a psychological standpoint, compassionate communication is based on active listening, a skill where the listener fully focuses on the speaker, showing empathy and withholding judgment. Active listening builds trust and connection while reducing feelings of isolation or misunderstanding at work. When people feel understood, they become more open and willing to cooperate toward common goals. Moreover, compassionate communication helps minimize defensive reactions and psychological stress in the workplace. When people learn to regulate their emotions and respond with kindness, they are less likely to engage in heated arguments, lowering risks of stress-related disorders like anxiety, insomnia, or burnout. Emma clearly felt this change as she no longer felt exhausted or frustrated when facing work pressures. Additionally, applying compassionate communication fosters leadership development and team spirit within the company. Managers began paying more attention to employees' emotions and needs, creating a positive and creative work environment. Emma witnessed a cultural shift where everyone felt respected and valued, strengthening loyalty and commitment to the organization. Emma's story is a vivid example of the power of compassionate communication in today's workplace and a reminder of the importance of cultivating compassion daily. When individuals open their hearts with understanding, listening, and tolerance, conflicts decrease, and a healthy, happy, and effective work environment emerges. Emma's journey also inspires those feeling stuck in communication or overwhelmed by work pressure. She proves that change doesn't have to start with grand gestures, but can come from small habits like how we listen and speak to each other daily. Compassionate communication is the key that opens the door to harmony and sustainable growth, helping people not only work efficiently, but also live more fully and meaningfully. Through this story, we realize that compassion is not only a noble spiritual value, but also a practical skill that can be learned and applied in modern life to build positive relationships, reduce stress, and enhance quality of work life. Compassionate communication breaks down invisible barriers of distance, enabling cooperation and holistic development in today's diverse and complex world. 6. 3. Compassion illuminates a community. The story of a volunteer group transforming lives. In a peaceful small town by the coast of Cornwall, England, there is a volunteer group called Heartbridge, a Bridge of Hearts, founded by a group of young people from various countries. Heartbridge was created with the mission to spread compassion and assist local residents facing hardships, especially the poor, lonely elderly, and children in difficult circumstances. From its early days, Heartbridge had limited resources, but what they had was an open heart and a firm determination to help. They started with small but meaningful actions, distributing food to the homeless, organizing free English classes for immigrants, and visiting isolated elderly people in the community. Each small act carried a powerful message of kindness and sincere care. One of the founding members, Anna, a warm, smiling Canadian woman, shared, "We realized that compassion is not just a feeling, but must be expressed through concrete actions. When you give without expecting anything in return, you truly create change." Her simple yet powerful words kindled the passion in each member's heart, helping them overcome difficulties and become an inspiration to the whole community. Heartbridge operates on close cooperation principles, with everyone contributing their abilities and efforts. They do not discriminate by race, religion, or social status, believing that everyone deserves love and help. The cultural diversity within the group created a vibrant and creative working environment, fostering mutual understanding and respect. Psychologically, acts of kindness like those of Heartbridge enhance members' sense of meaning in life. When people feel they can positively contribute to society, they experience deep joy and strong community connection. Many studies also show that volunteering increases happiness and reduces loneliness, especially for young people living in today's stressful society. Heartbridge's story also shows that compassion is not only about giving, but also receiving. Those helped not only receive material support, but also feel the warmth of humanity, helping them regain faith and hope in life. Small changes accumulate to create great power. making the community more united and resilient against challenges. A typical example is the story of Mr. Thomas, a 78-year-old man living alone in an old house by the sea. Before meeting Heartbridge, he often felt lonely and hopeless, rarely leaving home. But after volunteers regularly visited, chatted, and helped with daily chores, he gradually opened up and joined community activities. His transformation not only made him happier, but also spread positive energy to those around him. Moreover, the group organizes workshops on meditation and compassion practice, helping the community raise awareness about the importance of kindness in maintaining mental health and social relationships. These sessions attract people of all ages, creating a peaceful space for genuine sharing. In today's society, where many feel isolated due to work pressures and personal struggles, volunteer groups like Heartbridge are a shining light, a vivid proof of compassion's magical power. They not only change the lives of those they help, but also allow givers to experience the true value of life. Heartbridge's story reminds us that every small act rooted in sincerity and love can make a huge difference. When we open our hearts, listen, and share, the world around us becomes better. Compassion not only heals personal wounds, but also lights faith and hope for the whole community. And in those simple moments, when hands are joined and hearts connected, we truly understand that the power of compassion is not an abstract or distant thing, but a real, essential energy capable of profoundly and sustainably transforming our lives and the world around us. Section 7. Overcoming challenges to maintain compassion. Life is never without challenges and suffering. In the journey of cultivating compassion, the greatest obstacles often do not come from external circumstances, but from within our own minds. When deeply hurt, when trust is betrayed, when resentment and anger arise, holding on to compassion becomes the hardest lesson to learn. However, it is precisely in these moments that the power of compassion and forgiveness is tested and revealed most clearly. Buddhism teaches us to let go of anger in order to find true peace within our hearts. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting or accepting wrongdoing, but rather it is an act of freeing ourselves from the chains of suffering and hatred. Practicing forgiveness is the path to healing deep wounds and bringing mental peace and improved well-being. The stories in this section will guide us through challenging yet deeply moving experiences of individuals who chose the path of compassion and forgiveness despite the pain they endured. 7. 1. When compassion triumphs over betrayal. The forgiveness journey of a deeply hurt man. Lucas is a 35-year-old man living in Sydney, Australia. He is a project manager in the construction field, known for his dedication and honesty. However, Lucas's life has not always been smooth. One of the biggest shocks he faced was discovering that his closest friend and longtime colleague betrayed him in a major project. The feeling of betrayal pierced Lucas's heart like a sharp knife. The trust he had placed in that friend completely shattered. Instead of companionship, he felt isolated, betrayed not only professionally but personally. In the months following, Lucas was consumed by anger, pain, and confusion. Instead of letting the pain control his life, Lucas turned to Buddhist teachings on compassion and forgiveness. He learned to see pain not as a burden to carry, but as an opportunity to let go of anger and find peace inside. With the support of a local meditation teacher and compassion-focused meditation sessions, Lucas gradually transformed his negative emotions into positive energy. Buddhism teaches that anger burns the bearer more than anyone else. Forgiveness is the act of freeing oneself from that fire, seeking inner peace. Through practicing loving-kindness meditation, Lucas began to send wishes of well-being to his former friend, the one who had deeply hurt him. This was not easy or a simple pardon, but a liberation from the cycle of suffering. Psychologically, studies show that forgiveness reduces stress, anxiety, and symptoms of depression. When we forgive, the mind is less dominated by negative emotions, enhancing mental health and life quality. Lucas clearly felt this change. From a man torn apart by resentment, he gradually regained peace and the ability to focus on positive things in life. Lucas's story is not only a personal journey of overcoming pain, but also a testament to the power of compassion, a power strong enough to heal the deepest wounds of the soul. In a world full of turmoil and challenges, Holding on to compassion and forgiveness is the way to stand firm, live healthily, and grow sustainably. 7. 2. A single mother overcomes anger and resentment to love her child again. Sarah, a 38-year-old woman living in Vancouver, Canada, is a single mother who has endured many turbulent years in her life. After a broken marriage, Sarah had to shoulder the responsibility of raising and caring for her young daughter, Mia, all on her own. The pressures from work, life, and loneliness gradually built up inside her, creating a deep shell of anger and resentment, not only toward her ex-husband, but sometimes unintentionally directed at her beloved child. For many years, especially the meditation of self-compassion, through lessons and regular meditation, she realized that in order to love and forgive others, she first had to learn to love and forgive herself. Sarah began facing her inner negative emotions, anger, pain, and resentment, not to bury them, but to let them go. This process of letting go was not easy. Day by day, Sarah patiently changed the way she viewed herself and her daughter. She realized that the child beside her was not an enemy, but someone who needed love and companionship. Compassion within her gradually grew like a warm flame lighting up her soul. Psychologically, practicing compassion helped Sarah rebuild a sustainable family relationship. Compassion not only reduced stress and conflict, but also fostered trust and safety in the mother-daughter bond. When Sarah listened to Mia with an open, non-judgmental heart, Mia also gradually opened up and shared more. Together, they created positive memories, slowly restoring closeness and attachment. Sarah's story is a clear testament to the power of compassion to heal the deepest wounds. In today's stressful and challenging world, Sarah's story also reminds us all that love and compassion are not distant ideals, but can begin with the smallest acts, from patiently listening, from acceptance and forgiveness, from keeping our hearts open no matter the circumstances. With compassion, Sarah transformed pain into strength, anger into healing, and finally, broken relationships into a source of lasting happiness and connection. This is not just the journey of a single mother, but a profound lesson on how to maintain compassion through life's toughest trials. 7.3. A leader who maintains calmness and compassion amid crisis. Lessons on wisdom and emotional management. Martin is a 42-year-old young CEO of a large technology company in Berlin, Germany. Under his leadership, the company steadily grew on the international market, known not only for innovative products, but also for a corporate culture that values people and sustainability. However, the development journey was not always smooth. Martin faced his toughest months when the company was confronted with a severe crisis threatening its existence. The crisis came from multiple directions: a data breach involving customer information, harsh criticism from the media, and pressure from shareholders demanding rapid and decisive changes. In such circumstances, Martin realized he faced his greatest challenge: how to maintain calmness, compassion, and clear wisdom to lead his team through the storm. According to Buddhist teachings, compassion is not just empathy, but is closely linked with wisdom, the ability to clearly understand the nature of things and respond appropriately without being swept away by fleeting emotions. Martin dedicated time to daily meditation practices, especially mindfulness and loving-kindness meditation, to strengthen emotional control and keep a mindful stance. Compassion helped Martin recognize not only his own pain and difficulties, but also those of the employees, customers, and community the company served. Instead of blaming or reacting negatively, he focused on creating a safe environment, listening to concerns and suggestions from the team, while proposing humane and effective solutions. Psychologically, the ability to manage emotions in crisis is a crucial factor helping Martin make sound decisions. By staying calm, he was not dominated by panic or stress, which enhanced his ability to focus and be creative in problem-solving. This attitude also spread to all employees, fostering a positive work atmosphere even amid hardship. Martin's story is a vivid example of leadership inspired by Buddhist principles, using compassion as the foundation for wisdom, thereby making steady and sustainable steps during the most challenging times. He was not only a manager, but also an inspirer, encouraging everyone to overcome difficulties with unity and mutual understanding. As the tough days gradually faded away, Martin's company not only survived the crisis, but also grew stronger, with a more cohesive corporate culture and heightened humanistic values. This demonstrates that in a volatile world, leaders who maintain compassion and calmness are the true victors. From this story, we learn that compassion is not merely a personal virtue, but also an art of leadership filled with wisdom. When a leader manages emotions and puts people at the center, they do not just solve crises effectively, but also build a foundation for sustainable and harmonious development. This is a valuable lesson that anyone on the leadership path should remember. Holding firmly to compassion and wisdom is the key to overcoming all challenges and leading not just with power, but with empathy and profound understanding of people and life. Part 8. Living Mindfully. The Journey to Sustain Compassion in the Modern World. In today's era of industrialization, digitalization, and rapid social development, human life has become more complex than ever. Work pressure, family stress, and a constant flood of information cause many people to feel exhausted, anxious, and sometimes lost in life's direction. Amid this relentless flow, maintaining and nurturing compassion is not only a precious personal virtue, but also a necessary journey to protect inner peace, helping us live mindfully, lovingly, and with greater understanding. Buddhism teaches that mindfulness is not merely awareness, but a continuous state of mind that remains steady in each present moment, without being swayed by worries, judgments, or prejudices. When compassion is founded on mindfulness, it does not fade away amid difficulties and challenges, but becomes clearer and more steadfast. In this section, we will follow the stories of ordinary people who have made a difference through the journey of mindful living and sustaining compassion amidst modern pressures. From an Indian yoga teacher overcoming social pressure through mindful meditation, to a New York journalist finding emotional balance amidst negative news, and a Japanese programmer applying meditation and compassion in a high-tech, high-stress environment. Each story is a vivid lesson, a testament to the healing power of mindfulness and compassion in our ever-changing world. 8.1 Story. An Indian yoga teacher overcoming social pressure through mindfulness practice. Anaya is a 34-year-old yoga teacher from Mumbai, India, one of the largest and most crowded cities in the world, where the fast pace of life and social and work pressures weigh heavily on everyone's shoulders. Since youth, Anaya deeply felt the suffocating pressures and endless expectations from family, community, and her profession. Working in yoga, Anaya always conveyed messages of peace and self-connection to her students, yet she herself experienced serious emotional stress and imbalance. Feelings of fatigue and losing direction sometimes made her doubt the path she was on. But through persistent practice of mindfulness meditation, a method taught in Buddhism, Anaya gradually began to change. Mindfulness is not simply paying attention to breath or present sensations, but is the ability to observe all thoughts and emotions non-judgmentally, allowing her to see social pressures and inner anxieties more objectively. When she became aware of stress or anger, practicing mindfulness significantly reduced Anaya's stress and anxiety levels. Numerous studies show that mindfulness meditation improves emotional awareness and helps regulate emotions better. For Anaya, this manifested as a regained life balance, maintaining a positive spirit while inspiring hundreds of students daily. Anaya's story is not only a personal journey overcoming social pressure, but also a living proof of the power of mindfulness and compassion to preserve peace amid modern storms. From a yoga teacher in Mumbai, we learn that wherever and whatever our circumstances, mindfulness and compassion can always be nurtured and developed, creating lasting healing power for each soul. In today's volatile and challenging world, Anaya's story is a shining light, encouraging us to pause, breathe deeply, and open our hearts with compassion, starting with ourselves. This is the path not only to survive, but to live fully, happily, and meaningfully. 8.2 The New York journalist who overcame negative news through mindful compassion. Lena, a 37-year-old journalist living and working in bustling New York City, has spent over a decade in the media industry, a field demanding sharpness, sensitivity, and high stress tolerance. Her daily job involves constant exposure to diverse news, from positive stories to tragic and sometimes psychologically shocking reports. The overwhelming flow of distressing news and the pressure to report accurately and objectively often left Lena feeling overwhelmed, mentally exhausted, and emotionally drained. However, unlike many colleagues who got caught up in the stressful and unbalanced cycle, Lena found a different approach, practicing mindful compassion based on Buddhist principles and mindfulness. She began to explore and incorporate daily mindfulness meditation, focusing on observing her moods and reactions to the news she consumed. According to Lena, compassion is not just simple empathy, but also being mindful of one's own and others' emotions. When faced with negative news, instead of falling into panic, despair, or indifference, Lena trained herself to clearly recognize these feelings and adjust her mindset so as not to be overly affected by such news. Buddhism teaches that compassion combined with mindfulness creates healing power, helping individuals maintain inner peace and spread positive energy to the community. For Lena, this mindful compassion not only helped her balance her mind, but also changed how she approached journalism. She no longer saw herself merely as a news deliverer, but as a bridge conveying humane stories, contributing to raising social awareness and readers' empathy. Psychologically, this compassionate and mindful attitude significantly reduced Lena's experience of infoxication, information overload to the point of being unmanageable. Instead of being swept away by negative news, she learned to maintain a healthy emotional distance while deeply connecting with the human values her profession should uphold. Lena also shared that practicing mindful compassion improved her ability to endure work pressure and stay calm when facing difficult situations. With genuine empathy, she could view stories from multiple perspectives, making her articles more profound, convincing, and positively impactful on society. Lena's story clearly demonstrates the power of mindful compassion in the media industry, a space where fast information and pressure are ever present. Amid the vast sea of multifaceted news, mindful compassion serves as a sturdy shield, protecting journalists from harm while contributing to a more humane and sustainable media environment. Her journey also sends a profound message for all of us in the digital age. When confronted with overwhelming negative information, focus on mindfulness and compassion to maintain mental balance and nurture positive energy, not only for ourselves, but also for those around us. This is the way to live without being overwhelmed in the modern world and to help build a more understanding, empathetic, and connected society. 8. 3. The Japanese programmer who applies meditation and compassion to boost performance and workplace harmony. Takashi is a 29-year-old programmer working at a high-tech company in Tokyo, the digital and innovation hub of Japan. Facing pressure from complex projects, tight deadlines, and a work environment demanding absolute precision, Takashi went through many stressful periods. Internal conflicts with colleagues, and mental exhaustion. This not only affected his work efficiency, but also caused imbalance in his personal life. However, Takashi's story did not end with these pressures. He found a positive transformation path by applying meditation combined with the spirit of compassion in his work and daily life. Initially, Takashi began practicing metta meditation, loving-kindness meditation, a technique rooted in Buddhist tradition that cultivates love and empathy for oneself and others. Meditation helped Takashi develop deeper focus, reduce stress, and stabilize his emotions during the most pressured work moments. Over time, he realized that compassion was not only a feeling toward others, but also about understanding, tolerance, and patience within a challenging work environment. This helped him maintain calmness, understanding, and empathy toward colleagues during disagreements or conflicts. The integration of compassion and wisdom, nurtured by meditation, enabled Takashi to create a more harmonious workplace. He not only resolved internal conflicts wisely, but also improved team productivity through open communication, respect for opinions, and building trust among members. This environment not only increased efficiency, but also made everyone feel valued and more connected to their work. Psychologically, meditation helped Takashi develop mindfulness and the ability to recognize both his own and others' emotions, thereby better managing stress and psychological pressure in a high-tech setting. Enhanced focus enabled him to work efficiently, minimize errors, and increase creativity. Meanwhile, compassion created a positive mental space, helping him and his colleagues maintain enthusiasm, empathy, and mutual support during work. Takashi also shared that practicing compassion and meditation not only led to career success, but also brought balance to his personal life, enhanced mental health, and lasting happiness. He became a source of inspiration to his colleagues, spreading positive energy and contributing to a corporate culture based on understanding and love. Takashi's story vividly demonstrates the power of meditation and compassion in a modern technology environment, where pressure and competition are ever present. In the modern world, where technology advances rapidly, Takashi's story reminds us that inner peace and compassion are not just spiritual values, but also essential keys to face and overcome challenges, creating positive differences in life and work. His journey of meditation and compassion is an invitation for everyone to courageously connect with themselves and others, to build a technological world that is both modern and filled with love. Part 9. Spreading Compassion, Stories that Change the World Through Small Acts. In today's complex and turbulent society, the power of small, humane, and compassionate acts has become more important than ever. These seemingly simple and gentle actions, full of love, can create a wide ripple effect. This part will take viewers to various countries where young people, small groups, or individuals initiated meaningful acts of compassion that deeply and sustainably transformed their communities. They are vivid examples showing that when each person awakens and acts with loving kindness, even small deeds can illuminate and inspire many others to join hands in building a better society. Collective actions have great power in fostering unity and a deep sense of purpose in life. When people come together to perform compassionate acts, they not only create real change in their communities, but also experience joy, connection, and awareness of a sacred common goal. From these connections, compassion becomes not just a theory, but a living reality that continuously spreads. Next, we follow a group of students in Brazil, young people who initiated a meaningful compassion campaign, transforming themselves and profoundly impacting their community. Their story opens deep reflections on how compassion can be nurtured, practiced, and spread in modern life. 9. One compassion campaign of Brazilian students. How small acts spark big change. In Recife, a sunny coastal city in Brazil, a group of 15 high school students began a small yet determined compassion project. Each member was an ordinary student from different backgrounds, but shared a common belief. The power of compassion can change their lives and the community around them. Their campaign started simply, organizing activities to help the poor, homeless, and lonely elderly in their neighborhood. They called it Little Light, symbolizing small acts that shine through the darkness of loneliness and social injustice. Every day after school, members carried food, drinks, warm blankets, and essential supplies to places where homeless people gathered. They not only gave gifts but also talked, listened, and shared love. Through this, they realized that genuine presence and compassion were the greatest gifts they could offer. Gradually, the Little Light campaign grew beyond this group. Stories of their compassion spread on social media, attracting attention from the community and social organizations. The event gained support from philanthropists and local small businesses, all joining hands to create a powerful positive wave. Psychologically, collective actions like this campaign enhance the sense of meaning and social unity for all participants. When people realize they can do something positive for their community, they not only change their environment, but also feel inspired and grow spiritually. This creates a positive cycle. Social cohesion encourages more good deeds, reducing isolation and increasing empathy in society. Moreover, the campaign helped these students mature, appreciate the value of compassion, and understand that strength lies not in the scale of the action, but in sincere and persistent hearts. These young people became little ambassadors of compassion, inspiring anyone who once thought they couldn't make a big difference. The Brazilian student's story clearly demonstrates that in a volatile world, as long as a passionate group with a loving idea exists, small acts can create great and lasting change. It reminds us that everyone can be a light for others through their compassionate hearts. From this story, we learn that to change the world, We don't need to wait or do something huge immediately. Small steps and daily loving actions are the foundation of deep and lasting transformation in society. And within each of us, compassion is always ready to be awakened and spread, beginning with the simplest yet most meaningful acts. 9.2 Compassion Healing War Wounds. The reconciliation journey of a South African man. In a small town in South Africa, once deeply divided and scarred by years of conflict, the story of a man with a compassionate heart has become a powerful source of inspiration for the entire community. His name is Thabo, a man who personally experienced the traumas of war, loss, and social breakdown. Yet instead of letting these wounds turn him into a person full of resentment, Thabo chose the path of compassion and forgiveness to heal himself and his community. In post-apartheid South Africa, hostility and tension still linger in many social relationships. Families remain split, many have lost loved ones, and historical wounds are still deeply embedded. With a profound understanding of this pain, Thabo began organizing compassionate dialogues where community members could share their stories, pains, and hopes. The reconciliation journey led by Thabo was far from easy. Many people still harbored anger, distrusted each other, and feared the recurrence of violence. However, through perseverance, patience, and an open heart, he gradually kindled the flame of compassion in everyone's hearts. These dialogue sessions became healing spaces where pain was acknowledged, forgiveness planted, and empathy spread. From a psychological perspective, acts of compassion and forgiveness in such contexts have significant effects in helping individuals overcome deep spiritual wounds. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting or accepting injustice, but is a process of freeing oneself from negative emotions and being trapped in the past. When people empathize with the suffering of others, they open their hearts, reduce anger, and create genuine connections that lay the foundation for rebuilding community. War and conflict can destroy not only material resources, but also deeply wound the human soul. Yet Thabo demonstrated that compassion is the true power that can heal the deepest wounds, not only individually, but collectively. Stories shared during these meetings help people realize that everyone plays a role in the healing and rebuilding of the future. Thabo's actions extended further as he cooperated with NGOs and national reconciliation groups, creating a network of compassion and peace advocates. Activities such as dialogue training, loving-kindness meditation, and mindfulness discussions helped many understand the value of forgiveness and love in community building. Through Thabo's story, we see that the power of compassion is not just an abstract theory, but a practical tool that can be applied in the hardest circumstances to heal historical wounds. Compassion brings connection and hope, helping society gradually move past painful barriers toward a more harmonious future. Thabo's journey also reminds us that forgiveness is not easy, but is the only path to peace and freedom of the soul. When compassion is nurtured in each heart, Thabo's healing journey is not just a personal story, but a vivid testament to the power of compassion in rebuilding wounded communities and creating a world where kindness and forgiveness are the foundation for sustainable development and lasting peace. 9.3 Boundless Compassion. An international volunteer club's journey to support refugees in Europe. In a world increasingly interconnected, yet fraught with social and humanitarian challenges, the story of an international volunteer club has become a symbol of boundless compassion. This club consists of young people from various countries, united by a single goal: to support refugees seeking safety and new hope in Europe. They bring not only material aid but also build a network of warmth and spirit, overcoming barriers of culture, language, and geography. The story unfolds in a large European city where thousands of refugees from the Middle East, North Africa, and other regions are gradually rebuilding their lives after a journey marked by hardship and loss. Among them are many who still carry the pain of separated families, psychological trauma from war. Members hail from countries such as Canada, France, Germany, the USA, and many more, sharing the belief that love and compassion can transcend all borders. They organize language learning programs, provide essential supplies, hold life skills workshops, and offer emotional support to refugees. Through each activity, they not only assist those in need, but create an inclusive environment where everyone feels welcomed and hopeful about the future. What makes this story remarkable is the close cooperation between members, NGOs, local authorities, and native communities. Compassion becomes a strong bond that breaks down long-standing prejudices and alienation. The spirit of volunteering and genuine care ignites renewed trust and hope in refugees, helping build a multicultural, harmonious, and sustainable community. From a psychological perspective, empathy that transcends cultural differences not only comforts refugees, but also supports their adaptation to new environments. As feelings of isolation diminish, self-confidence and social integration improve, fostering personal and community development. At the same time, exposure to diverse cultures broadens the perspectives and understanding of both volunteers and recipients alike. The club's story vividly exemplifies the Buddhist philosophy of limitless compassion, the practical embodiment of selflessness and boundlessness that prioritizes others' well-being over individual ego or selfishness. In today's turbulent and conflicted world, compassion shines as a guiding light, leading people of different cultures to join hands in building a just, peaceful, and humane society, and building trust for a brighter future. When people open their hearts and collaborate for the common good, even the smallest actions can bring about great change, helping make the world better each day. Part 10. Conclusion: Living with compassion and love every day. In today's modern world, where life becomes increasingly busy and stressful, we can heal deep wounds within ourselves and spread positive energy to those around us. You will see more clearly that each of us has the ability to make a difference, not by doing great or distant things, but by acting with genuine heartfelt kindness. The stories in this part aim not only to inspire, but also invite everyone to live mindfully with compassion, applying it in every moment of life. Compassion and love are not abstract or distant concepts, but foundations for building a happy life, a harmonious society, and a better world. Let us explore the journey of simple yet miraculous hearts so that you, too, can begin walking the path of compassion, a journey that is never too late and always open to all. 10.1 Story: How Small Compassion Changed a Life and the World. In a small suburban city in Australia, there was a woman named Emma, whose story touched thousands of hearts and proved that even small compassion can create great change. Emma was not famous, nor did she have power or vast wealth. She was simply a kindergarten teacher with a heart full of love and sensitivity to others' pain. The story began when Emma noticed a boy in her class, Lucas, who often appeared quiet, distant, and sometimes cried silently in the corner. Lucas came from a troubled family, where domestic violence and poverty deeply wounded his soul. Instead of judging or avoiding him, feeling loved and safe is the foundation for healing emotional wounds. Compassion helped Lucas overcome childhood trauma and build inner strength for mental well-being. At the same time, Emma's compassionate actions created a positive ripple effect in the community, where people once isolated and separate became connected through understanding and sharing. Emma's story is the clearest proof of the core message throughout this script. Everyone can be a small flame that lights up darkness, a bridge connecting souls in need of empathy, and can change the world by the simplest acts of compassion. Because compassion does not need to be grand. It is sincerity and consistency in every moment that create true miracles. We see that compassion always arises from understanding, empathy, and an open heart. Compassion is not only about giving kindness to others, without defense or judgment, but with companionship and sharing. This is the solid foundation for building lasting happiness, overcoming all challenges, and turning suffering into an opportunity for growth. On a personal level, compassion helps heal deep psychological wounds such as depression, anxiety, or scars left by the past. Loving kindness meditation, mindfulness, and forgiveness are invaluable tools to gradually soothe those pains, ease inner struggles, and help people live more fully in the present. Stories of people overcoming addiction, single mothers finding light in life, or young people transforming through loving kindness meditation vividly illustrate this miraculous power of transformation. At the level of family and community, compassion is a strong bridge. healing wounds caused by conflicts, misunderstandings, and disputes. Forgiveness and mutual acceptance not only reduce tension, but also create an environment full of love, respect, and understanding. Reconciliation after war, or building harmonious multicultural communities. These actions reduce isolation and discrimination while promoting solidarity and hope for a better world. When compassion is nurtured and spread, it becomes the glue that connects people regardless of cultural, linguistic, or life circumstance differences. Buddhism, with its spirit of boundless compassion, not only teaches moral values, but also provides us with practical methods such as meditation, mindfulness, and lessons on forgiveness to apply in modern life. These methods help maintain a peaceful mindset, overcome challenges, and nurture a heart always open to love. The harmony between wisdom and compassion creates a resilient inner strength, enabling people to face and solve personal and social crises effectively. Compassion is not just a personal journey, but also a path leading to positive change for society. When each individual begins to practice compassion, is enough to change their own life and those around them. In summary, compassion and love are great powers that heal every wound, mend every relationship, and create a more harmonious world. When we live with an open heart, forgiving and grateful, every day becomes meaningful and full of positive energy. This is the precious gift we can give to ourselves and to the world around us, like a small flame that never goes out, always warming and illuminating the path of life. 10.3 Small Acts. Great love, the beginning of unlimited compassion spread. Looking back on the long journey we've traveled, from touching stories about compassion, love, and forgiveness, we realize that true power does not come from grand actions or spectacular events, but from the small, simple steps in everyday life. A smile, a sincere greeting, a warm hug, or simply a moment of listening without judgment can all be seeds for great positive change. Today's world, despite being modern and developed, faces many challenges: work pressure, social isolation. In every decision to be kind and full of love. Imagine if each of us dedicates a moment every day to practice compassion, to help others without expecting anything in return, to forgive past mistakes, to love ourselves and those around us. Each small act is like a pure drop falling into a still pond, creating ever-widening ripples reaching people we don't even know, in places we never imagined. We clearly see that just by starting, by daring to love and forgive, we contribute to creating a better world. And we ourselves will receive deep joy, a peaceful mind, a life full of meaning. Therefore, this call is not just words but a sincere and earnest invitation. Start from small actions today, right where you are standing. Open your heart to receive and give love. Let compassion become a daily habit, turning every moment into an opportunity to heal and spread positive energy. Only then can we build a strong community, a harmonious society, and a world full of humanity. You don't need to wait until you're perfect or ready to begin practicing compassion. Right now, a gentle look, a kind word, and the light that guides others in the darkness. If you find it difficult, remember you are not alone on this path. Millions around the world are choosing love over hatred, forgiveness over resentment, empathy over judgment. We are creating a strong current of compassion, merging and spreading endlessly, bringing hope and new vitality to humanity. Finally, I invite you, together with me, together with every individual, family, and community, to begin this wonderful journey today. Let compassion and love guide every action, every thought, every word. Let that love be not just a fleeting feeling but a way of life, a core value shaping our lives and society. Be someone who sows happiness, sows love, sows compassion in your own home, your community, and the wide world. You will see that when we give love, we are also receiving it, and life becomes more beautiful, meaningful, and fulfilling than ever before. Are you ready? Let's start together. Beginning today. In today's fast-paced world, filled with endless pressures and unexpected challenges, have you ever wondered what truly keeps the human heart steady and peaceful? When the closest relationships fracture, when painful words have been spoken, and when wounds seep deep into the corners of the soul, What power can heal those hurts? The answer lies not far away, but within compassion and unconditional love. Subtle, yet incredibly powerful qualities that can transform our lives in the most miraculous ways. Imagine a moment when you can look at the one who hurt you not with anger, but with understanding and forgiveness. Imagine that instead of holding onto grudges and pain, you offer sincere forgiveness, not to forget, but to free yourself from the chains of the past. In that very moment, you will feel a miraculous power, the power of compassion healing not only the relationships around you, but also your very own heart. Compassion is not merely an abstract concept found in sacred texts. It is a light that illuminates the darkest corners of each person's life. It is the invisible thread linking all sentient beings, reminding us that every individual carries their own story, their own pain, and a yearning to be loved and understood. In today's video, we will explore deeply moving stories about compassion and unconditional love, stories in which you may see yourself reflected or find profound empathy. Each story not only proves the healing power of compassion, but also opens the door for us to learn how to apply it